We start this hour with breaking news. Famine has been declared in Gaza City for the first time. The UN-backed Integrated Food Security Phase classification, which monitors world hunger, has just made the formal declaration. This comes as Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz has threatened to destroy Gaza City after Benjamin Netanyahu said the country's military will expand its offensive there. Let's bring in our correspondent in the Middle East, Adam Parsons. Adam, just tell us more about this declaration.
So this IPC classification goes from 1 to 5, and it monitors and provides analysis for countries all over the world. Effectively, 1 is when you have no worries about your food. When you get to 4, there is a very, very serious shortage of food, but 5 is very rarely reached. It is a threshold that the IPC has only introduced on a few occasions over the past 20 years, and that indicates famine. And that is exactly where we are now, is that the IPC is saying that the Gaza Governorate, which is the area around Gaza City, now faces famine. That means that, among other things, it expects a mortality rate of 2 people out of every 10,000 dying every day. It means that death and destitution are seen as commonplace, and it means that there is a widespread lack of food and starvation. To emphasize that this is the highest level you can reach, and in recent years it has only been breached in Sudan, Somalia. This is the first place outside Africa that has breached this threshold.
From Geneva now.
Very much for being with us today. Today, as you know, is Friday, 22nd of August, and we start this press briefing in Geneva with a very special guest that I would like to salute and welcome here, Tom Fletcher, Under Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator, who will speak to you about hunger in Gaza. I'd like to remind everyone, especially those who follow us from home, that this part of the briefing is under strict embargo until 11 o'clock. So please respect this, this deadline. 2 more things. As you have seen from the agenda of today, at 11 o'clock, we will switch to the IPC report on hunger in Gaza, and we will have guests from WFP, from WHO, and from OHCHR. So for more technical questions, I would invite you to ask these questions later on, because Mr. Fletcher doesn't have much time. He will take a few questions at the end, but keep the more technical question for later on, when we will have our experts on the line. So I give you the floor, sir, for your introductory remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. Now, please read the IPC report. Read it cover to cover. Read it in sorrow and read it in anger. Not as words and numbers, but as names and lives. Be in no doubt that this is irrefutable testimony. It is a famine, the Gaza famine. It is a famine that we could have prevented if we had been allowed. Yet food stacks up at borders because of systematic obstruction by Israel. It is a famine within a few hundred meters of food in a fertile land. We have a problem with the line, I think. Apologies.
Sorry, I'm very, very sorry. Would that be possible to?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
sorry.
If you're happy.
Just check with the regime. Is it okay? Okay, give me that thumb up. So
That's okay.
we apologize. Thank you. Sorry.
No problem. Good morning, everyone. Please read the IPC report, cover to cover. Read it in sorrow and in anger. not as words and numbers, but as names and lives. Be in no doubt that this is irrefutable testimony. It is a famine, the Gaza famine. It is a famine that we could have prevented. It is a famine that hits the most vulnerable first, each with a name, each with a story, that strips people of dignity before it strips them of life, that forces a parent to choose which child to feed, that forces people to risk their lives to seek food. It is a famine that we repeatedly warned of, but that the international media has not been allowed in to cover, to bear witness. It is a famine in 2025, a 21st century famine, watched over by drones and the most advanced military technology in history. It is a famine openly promoted by some Israeli leaders as a weapon of war. It is a famine on all of our watch. Everyone owns this. The Gaza famine is the world's famine. It is a famine that asks, but what did you do? A famine that will and must haunt us all. It is a predictable and a preventable famine. A famine caused by cruelty, justified by revenge, enabled by indifference, and sustained by complicity. It is a famine that must spur the world to more urgent action, that must shame the world to do better. It is a famine that therefore also asks, and what now will you do? My ask, my plea, my demand to Prime Minister Netanyahu and anyone who can reach him: enough. Ceasefire. Open the crossings, north and south, all of them. Let us get food and other supplies in, unimpeded, and at the massive scale required. End the retribution. It is too late for far too many, but not for everyone in Gaza. Enough. For humanity's sake, let us in. Thank you.
Thank you very much, US Chief Lecturer, for this remarks. I'll open the floor to questions. Very few questions here in the room, please. We've got very few minutes. So let me start with Robin, is our correspondent of AFP English language.
Good morning. This is Morning Sky. I'm your host, Sky. It's a famine, as it should be. It should be a famine. It should be lost, everything. Everything. You should be hungry. You should be starved. Children should be starved. Let's take it to it. Let's take it to that level. This is war, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't play time. This is war. And a war that Israel did not initiate. On October 7th, over 1,200 people were killed and 250 various hostages were taken into holds and different areas by various forces. So this is war. Netanyahu's not the greatest leader. That's an understatement. He's one of the worst leaders ever. But he has some kind of understanding of how Israel has to fight this war to protect itself and let the Gazans, it's like kill them all and let God sort them out, like Clip's album. Let God sort them out. There is no God, but you know what I mean. Let the conditions manifest themselves. That's the idea behind let God show themselves. Let the conditions, the famine that is going on, because I don't remember them saying, you know what, there's probably going to be a famine later. We might as well not, attack Israel or anything like that. They didn't say that on October 7th. They didn't say that on October 7th, 2023. They did not say that. They said, we're going to bomb them. We're going to take hostages. We're going to do all kinds of mayhem and disgusting acts. This is war. They should be lucky that they're starving and in famine. And notice you see them with the pans. They have their hands out for the rice and the flour or whatever the case may be. For the water, the drinking water. They can be selfish. See, there's conditions. There are conditions allegedly. I know there aren't, but in the world that we have, the morality that we currently live under, you can be selfish and egoistic if you're poor and indigent and needy and wanting. You don't see anybody else saying, "Oh, let me get the pan for you." You don't see. Let me give this for my enemy that I despise. Let me make sure he gets his food first, or she gets her food first. They always have their own hands out for whatever they want. Just something I've noticed. I'm gonna get back into the video in a little bit. I just had to stop it and say it's just really a big mess. It's just such a mess because it didn't have to be. Israel's doing the best it possibly can, doing, the Lord's work. There is no Lord, but you know what I mean. Doing the Lord's work, and ensuring that state stands properly and proudly. They were attacked. Hamas attacked. And don't think of Hamas as this fringe terroristic group. It's a government. A whole government. Hamas is elected, I think, in 2005. It was an elected branch of elected body of government. So don't get it twisted. Don't get it confused. Everybody's like, "Oh, the children, the babies, they can't live." That's sad. True. Okay, I'll give you that much. It's a shame, but it's not Israel's fault. It's Hamas's fault. Blame Hamas. Don't blame Israel. They're creating famine. They're destroying lives. No, Hamas is destroying lives. Hamas created famine. Hamas did all that. That's the facts. Hamas started all that. Hamas was the main driver of all of this. I'm just going to answer my one and only viewer as of late. All right, so Hamas, blame Hamas. All of this is Hamas's fault. Nothing. I mean, Israel may have done a few things here and there, but it's trivial and it's not even, it doesn't even add up to what Hamas has done. Hamas has done the most damage. They created the famine. They created all this, deleterious conditions. It's a very ugly scene because of Hamas, not because of Israel. People are getting it twisted. They're saying, "Oh, Israel's blocking aid. Israel's blocking the food trucks from getting in." And I would say, as they should, bring it to the civilian population. Don't bring it to the war fighters. Bring it to the civilians. Maybe they'll understand. Don't mess with Israel. Don't mess with America. Don't mess with its allies. That's the reason. And just like with in the north, with Hezbollah, Israel was able to dispatch a great number of operatives in the Hezbollah structure with the cell phones. Anyone remember the cell phones? Put up to your ear, bang, blow out. I didn't even know that. I'm gonna look up that. I don't know that. Let me look that up before I say it on the air, because you might have a point. I'm not sure. Yes, he's telling the truth. He's telling the truth. I just had to make 100% sure, sir. TX Carnage 817 says Hamas in Hebrew means violence. Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. Hamas in Hebrew means violence. I mean, just the name. The name Hamas in Hebrew means violence. It literally means violence. But it's not just violence. Violence is okay. There's nothing wrong with violence in the form of defending oneself or defending a nation. You have to engage in violence sometimes to do it. It's the initiation of physical force that's the issue. They initiated physical force against Israel. And that is the issue. That's the problem. That's where we get into a lot of the muck and mire and quagmire. Is the fact that Israel is fighting its war almost with a hand behind its back because of Baba Netanyahu and other factions. What is the UN? I think it is, or what is this? Whatever organization this is, I'm not even sure what it is, but let me see. Hold on. Yeah, United Nations. Okay. I was gonna say United Nations. All of that. We shouldn't even have United Nations because they equivocate. They put on the same stage Iran and United States of America as if the same thing. They try to equalize, great states with lesser or almost non-states or detrimental or vicious countries and territories. UN is a joke. Exactly. UN is one of the worst things to ever compile. We're agreeing today, Texas. We're in agreement today. This is a rare day, but we're in it. Salute, King Hazy. Salute to you, sir. I see you. Salute to you, sir. But yeah, Texas and I are on the same page today. UN is a joke. UN tries to make on the same level plane as Russia, China, and United States and North Korea. How is that possible? How is that? If I'm mistaken, correct me. Please correct me. Because you actually make sense today. I like the implication that I don't make sense most of the time. Thanks, Texas. Hey, Texas, you a man? Hit the like button, man. You a mod? Oh, you a mod? Hit the like button, yeah. Appreciate that, King. Get on him. And make sure you guys are telling them about me. That's the thing. Just if you don't give a Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal, just tell 2-3 people about me and let them know this goofy nigga named Sky. He's got some news, items. He's got some trending news going on. Just check him out. See what's up with him. Hazy, there's only one king, and you are not him. Oh my God. Hazy, how about you show up? Okay. Now they're going back and forth. But yeah, so this is a weird stage that we're in right now, because it's like people are defending for Palestine. What Palestine? There's Israel, and there's some people that live in Gaza City, which should be flattened. I mean, completely bombed. Bomb all the children, bomb all the grandparents, the mothers, the fathers, the sisters, the uncles, the aunties, bomb them to hell. Just like we did 80 years ago. And people are going to say, oh, that was in the past. That was 80, 90 years ago. And civil war with Major General William Tecumseh Sherman. Oh, that was over 100 years ago. Oh my God. It still stands. It's called morality. Morality doesn't change. It's either good or bad. It's either life enhancing or detrimental to life. That's what morality is. People don't even know where the word Palestine came from. I don't know where the word Palestine came from, but you can enlighten me like you did with Hamas. I didn't even have the mind to look up. I just said Hamas. Just Hamas. All right, my dumb ass. But thank you, Texas. I learned from my audience. Texas is giving. What does Palestine mean, Texas? Tell us all. Before I look it up, I'm about to look it up. You disrespectful. You ain't even pushing for success, and you have a high position. I would have been remove your wrench, you punk. Hey, I'm not gonna remove Texas wrench. He's dropping knowledge. I appreciate you though, King Hazy. Salute to you, sir, for trying to watch my back. But I appreciate that. Hazy, you show up as much as a blue moon. They're going back and forth, But I would like to. I'm gonna look it up right now. Let me see if I can look up with word. The word Palestine refers to a historical and geographical region in the Eastern Mediterranean. It often associated with the land between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea. The term has been used to describe the former British Mandate territory, which was later divided between Jordan and Israel. In modern usage, it can refer to the state of Palestine, which encompasses the West Bank and Gaza Strip. So this is a long dive. It was essentially land east-west power struggle. It was roundly agreed upon that a key element of the conflict is land. That land for many years by many people was called Palestine. The term Palestine refers only to the land between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea. Okay, this is a deep dive, so I'll come back to this. Yeah, it's a deep dive. Okay, they're still going back and forth, but I just want to say flatten Gaza, kill them all, and let God sort them out. There is no God. I have to repeat that, but just level the whole place and start over. Let the Americans and Europeans step in and create, Riviera by the sea. I could be wrong. I could be talking out of turn. But yeah, just like flatten it. Kill all the kids, all the babies, everybody. Kill them all. This is war. This isn't like, okay, you go first and I'll go. No, this is like I go in and I dominate and destroy. That's the whole point of war. Dominating and destroying. And leave you with the mess. Like with William Tecumseh Sherman, General Sherman. He just turned Atlanta into ATL, ashes, tinder, and litter. Salute. Ladies and gentlemen, he's back to discuss the latest in hurricane, the latest in JD Vance, and the latest in Gaza news. He's black and he's proud, and he don't cry over the white men in America. Fact, it's true. I don't cry over the black men. Most of the black men either. Hazy, you contribute. Okay. Still going back and forth, but I'm standing on the topic. I'm standing on one. It's a very. I know it's a very touchy subject, and people don't want to hear bomb the whole place and flatten it and completely deprive people of food and supplies. I know people don't want to hear that, but it has to be said. Israel did not initiate this war. They did not start it. They should finish it. And I think it's so cute when they talk about ceasefire. What do you mean ceasefire? There was no ceasefire on October 8th, the day after. Why didn't they declare ceasefire on Hamas? Okay, you did your dirt. We're going to come back after you, and then you're going to have a ceasefire. That should have been the key. That should have been what happened. But it didn't happen. And we've been going on for this for 2 years now. Almost 2 years, excuse me. It'll be 2 years and 2 months. So I'll go back to this. They're asking questions now.
Thank you. Is this a moment of shame for the world? And do you think that Gazans are living under collective punishment of starvation?
Thank you, Robin. And you're right. This is a moment of collective shame, and I think we all feel that in different ways. We all have to look back as the international community and think, where could we have got this in a different place? And we've watched it happen in real time. We've not watched it as closely as we could have done if you'd all been allowed in to cover it, as with the other big moments of famine that many of us can remember through our lifetimes. And it is, as I say, a famine that could have been prevented, but there has been that systematic obstruction preventing us from getting those trucks moving at the scale that they need to, preventing us from breaking that blockade that has existed for so much of recent months. Now, I don't know what people in Gaza will be saying this morning. I doubt they'll be reading this report. They don't need to read the report. They know this. And they've known it for weeks and months. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see many hands. Imogen Fuchs, BBC.
Swiss Transport let me down. Israel consistently denies that there's famine. Not just the Israeli government, but if you even see, people asked on the streets, they deny. What would you say, maybe to ordinary Israelis?
Now you see how she said that Israel denies that there's a famine. Israel shouldn't deny that there's a famine. Just say, yeah, there's a famine. You goddamn right. Of course there's a famine. What else is going to be? That's the least we can do. Is a famine. That's the very least we can possibly do. We could really drop bombs on you, which they should. Israel should drop every bomb in its arsenal that is, doesn't cost them as much. The cheapest way of using weapons of somewhat destruction, if not mass destruction, just use them and say, yeah, there's a famine. Of course. What do you expect? This is war. Hello. This is war. Wake up, nigga. Is your nigga wake? This is Gaza's wake up call. This is Gaza's nigger wake up call. Wake up, nigga. Like all the people, I'm gonna say Gazans because I don't even want to say Palestinians. I'm gonna say people living in Gaza. I'm gonna say Gazans. Hamas takes care packages from the people of Gaza. Yup, that's a fact. That is true. Hamas takes care packages from the people of Gaza. Yeah, their own suggested people. This is Texas on a roll, by the way. Their own suggested, people that they're trying to protect, they're taking away from their bread and water and flour and whatever, They're not getting lobster and steak. You know what I mean? Like, that's one thing we have to understand as well. They're not getting, truffle butter and they're not getting truffle butter and pheasant and stuffed pheasant and quail. They're getting bags of flour and that's awesome. That's the only images I've seen with bags of flour, like for them to make bread. And make what are they called? What's that bread called in the Middle East? I can't think of it. It's they use it with hummus. I can't think of it. It'll come to me. One of y'all tell me what it is. Sir, what do you think of Greta Thunberg? Oh my God, we're not going to talk about Thunberg right now. I'll get to her on another date. I think I've talked about it before, but I don't want to talk about it right now. I think Greta Thunberg is a fine. Whoa, let's slow down. I don't even know if she's of age yet. Let's slow that down. I'll show her who's okay. I'll give her something to preach about. Honey. Rick, that's disgusting. She has autism. Thank you, Rick James. Peter, chickpeas. Thank you, King. Thank you, Rick. Appreciate it. But yes, they're not getting, steak and potatoes and green beans and ham hocks and fried chicken. And they'd be lucky if they get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I don't even think they even got those. They just got huge sacks of flour. And I guess they have, disgusting contaminated water they have to boil, But that's just it. That's all Hamas. Everything that is going on. The UN famine in Gaza will and must haunt us all. Haunt us how? Did it haunt us when Israel was bombed and 1,200 people were killed and 250 people were taken hostage? Will that not haunt us all? And they say, oh, the babies, the kids. Okay. Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They were babies too. Plenty of babies killed. Look at Tokyo. Before that. Look at what was it? I'm trying to think of it. Is it Breslin? Hold on. Let me make 100% sure before I sound like a fool. Berlin. The bombing of Berlin. I'm looking for it right now. Give me a minute. It was acknowledged that the aerial bombing of Germany would cause civilian casualties, but the British government was initially reluctant to deliberately bomb civilian property outside conflict zones as a military tactic. Okay. But it said bomber command led to unacceptable high casualties and aircraft losses. So the Berlin, Dresden, that was best, especially not even Berlin, Dresden, the killings killed 42,000 at Hamburg in a single raid in 1943. Those weren't all military targets. Those were civilians. Let's stay on the fact that we're talking about war here. And this is not just history. This is history, because history, as let me make 100% sure he said it, because he gets attributed most of the things he said he didn't say. Who said this? It was Mark. Okay, so Mark Twain said it. History doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. See, that's the key. That's the key. Hold on. How the hell? I want it to be. Okay, so it just galls me. It's a visceral, gut level kind of thing, but it's brought on by the mind because your mind controls your body and everything, but and all your actions. But it's just a very disgusting thing. Like the UN is like Tux's Carter said, summed it up. UN is a joke. UN is a joke. It is horrific. It is a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad organization that should have nothing to do with anything. Its origins were right after World War II. The various nations got together, various countries got together and said we should do something, to pacify the world. We had this the most, detrimental actions ever taken in world history, in human history. World War II was the most concentrated amount of death and destruction in all of human history. And the only one to really come out on top was the United States of America. It became the sole superpower. It entered the Cold War and has been fighting its way, stumbling and mocking itself and tearing itself down in altruistic fashion ever since. So I'm gonna get back to the video.
I think it's important, and many of those that I've been in touch with in recent weeks inside Israel, including survivors of the October 7th massacre in Nir Oz, kibbutz, and elsewhere, they want this food to get in. And I think it's important to recognize that there is a growing constituency in Israel.
I gotta stop this. Get some straighten out from my main man, Rick James. He says the Japanese will never forgive us for what we did to their beautiful land. Fact. Is that true? Have they attacked us in 80 years? Are they planning to attack us in another 80 years? I doubt it. Same thing with Germany. I doubt it. They don't harbor any animosity towards the United States of America for the bombing of Dresden and Berlin and Nagasaki and Hiroshima. They don't have any ill will towards the United States. And it's because they knew they were wrong. Once you prove to somebody that they were wrong, that they had the improper philosophy and the improper morality, that's when you can say, okay, all right, you got me. You got me. You got me. That's all they can say is they got me because they were wrong. They had Nazis and Japanese imperialists. It's all about ideas. World War II was built on ideas. It was collectivism versus individualism. That was the main idea of World War II. Pearl Harbor was a misunderstanding. Pearl Harbor was a horrific event that should have never occurred. They had intelligence. Like September 11, 2001, they had intelligence. They knew that something could happen in the Pacific, and they did nothing. I mean, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes very close to what happened. But that is the reality. That is the truth. We'll go back to the questions.
That shares our demand that we must get this food moving in and we must avoid this starvation, that we must end this famine. I hope that their voices are heard. I would say to them, as I say to all of you, please read this report. Don't just listen to me. Read the report cover to cover. read it again, and be moved to action.
Thank you very much. Annegret Matari, Neue Zürcher Zeitung.
Yeah. The 6th of August, there was a meeting in New York of UN humanitarian organizations with the Gaza Humanitarian Fund on collaboration. Could you please elaborate what this collaboration could be? Thank you.
So I think you're referring, there was a meeting on the 6th of August, a briefing meeting held by the American Embassy, which included a representative of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which is running these militarized hubs inside Gaza. We know how to distribute aid at the scale needed to end this famine. Our system of distribution has been systematically dismantled and replaced. We have the food to deliver at scale. We have the networks to deliver at scale. We know how to do this. And we need to be allowed to do our work. What others do is for them. We need to be allowed to work.
I see Nick Bruce in the New York Times.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for your briefing. Israeli policy is underpinned by the United States and by its continuing support for GHF. Have you seen or had any contact with the administration that shows any sign of shifting their position on this?
We are in very regular contact with American colleagues. It's notable that President Trump has clearly given an instruction that we must end this starvation. And I take that seriously. And I know that American colleagues take that seriously too. My ask of them is, of course, to let us operate at scale, to use the networks, the resources that we have, the experience that we have. We do this all over the world. And we've done it in Gaza, of course. You know, when I was there earlier this year in the first quarter, during the ceasefire, we were getting in 600, 700 trucks every day. We can do that again. We're ready to go. And we're trying to help our American colleagues understand that that is essential to ending this starvation and finding ways to use their influence and their engagement to that effect.
Sorry, the very, very last question. Paula Dupras, Geneva Solutions. Look at Geneva.
Yeah, good morning. Could you comment on how the NGO restrictions that Israel is imposing or is threatening to impose is impacting the partners that you work with on the ground and the security implications of that?
Thank you for raising this, because this isn't just about UN access. We also need commercial access to end this famine, commercial access at scale, and we need access for our essential humanitarian partners across the humanitarian movement. I think the best reference point actually is the letter that over 100 NGOs wrote last week, which sets out the way in which they are being impeded, very specifically the obstacles that they need to be removed in order to deliver. And so when we call for unimpeded access through all the crossings, we are calling for that for our entire humanitarian movement. We need them back on the ground, delivering at scale and in a principled humanitarian way.
Thank you very, very much, USG Fletcher, for being with us. Please be reminded of a strict embargo until 11 o'clock. We will come back at 11 o'clock on this matter. I'd like to say thank you again and come back soon, Mr. Fletcher. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's something else I noticed. Why aren't they all? You know, they're gonna go and have truffle butter on steak and quail, stuffed quail, and pheasant, and what allegedly, you know, they're gonna eat well. They're gonna live their lives. They're in suits, they're in blouses, they're in shirts. They're clean. They get running water and hot food cooked for them every day. Tom Fletcher and company. He's an under. That lady was a bit okay. But you know, they are all, you know, shower every day, put on clean clothes. Why aren't they being altruistic? Why aren't they using altruism? That's my question. Why aren't they stripping naked, living into a hut, donating all their money, their wealth, you know, to the people of Gaza? Why aren't they doing that? Why aren't they putting their money where their mouth is? Why aren't they putting up dollars for them? I don't care about the Gazans. I don't care about them. They do, though, apparently. So why aren't they doing anything like that? Why do they continue on with food and nourishment and lights and roof over their head and a warm bed to sleep in and all the creature comforts that are available to us, smartphones and Alexa and Siri and all these different things? What is going on with that? I don't understand. I really am I'm struggling to figure that out. Why? And nobody brings that. I'm not the first, but there's very few people that ever even point that out. I would just love to see them, stark naked, down to their skivvies, I guess. Saying, look, we gave all our money, we gave all our food, we gave everything, our clothes, our houses, everything. We liquidated it, and everything's going towards Gaza. That would make sense. That I could understand, because they're living up to their morality. They're living up to the morality if they were to do that. They would be in a specific zone where they could be looked at as paragons of morality, of ethics. If they were to do that. No, but he's got a fly Windsor knot, tie and a shirt and a suit that probably costs $2,000-$3,000 or something like that. He's probably living good. He probably has a good salary. All of them do. The lady on the left, the man on the right. I don't even know who these people are. They're part of UN somehow. But this is Tom Fletcher. He's like a co-chair or something like that of the UN. Is he how much money does he have? Can he give away all his money? Now, I'm not asking him to do that, but according to his ethics, according to his code of morality, that is proper. That is right. That should happen. And then they say predictable and preventable. The famine was predictable and preventable. Was it predictable and preventable for October 7th? Was that predictable and preventable? I think it was preventable, obviously. Maybe some people could have predicted it. Maybe not on the right day, but knew that this was brewing. This was going to happen one day. And what precipitated it? All right, I'm gonna continue with the questions. They're taking a break now, I think. Though.
That was a pre-recorded press conference given there from Geneva, that 11 o'clock reference at local time, which is why we brought you that news at 10 o'clock here in London. That was Tom Fletcher there, Under-Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator. For humanity's sake, let us in, he says. So the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel and the Israeli government, enough. Bring a ceasefire, open all crossings, allow the massive scale of food in unimpeded. Tom Fletcher saying.
Tom Fletcher is I forgot what he said already. God damn it. I think he's an undersecretary. He's an undersecretary of the United Nations.
That the report should be read in sorrow and anger, that food is stacked on the border, but there is systematic obstruction of food aid deliveries by Israel. Famine, he said, within a few miles of fruit, but the international media unable to bear witness due to the restrictions placed on it by the Israeli government. Famine watched over by drones, he said, and openly promoted by some Israeli leaders as a weapon of war. And the world should own this famine, Tom Fletcher went on to say. He said it was predictable and preventable, and that the world was shamed to be bearing witness to what was going on, and for humanity's sake to let food aid in. He said the people of Gaza had known this situation for weeks and for months, and that there was a growing constituency within the Israeli public who wants to see food being transported into Gaza. This is this breaking news this hour that the United Nations has declared famine in Gaza City. This is the first time that it has been declared in the territory since the outbreak of the conflict on October the 7th, 2023. And we're just getting reaction from some Israeli authorities. This is from COGAT, which is the Coordination of Government Activities in the Territories. Breaking reaction from them, a long statement in response. I'm going to read you part of it. Like previous IPC reports and assessments regarding the humanitarian situation in Gaza, this report ignores the data on aid deliveries published by COGAT, that is an Israeli government body, as well as Hamas's deliberate and cynical exploitation of that aid. The classification of famine relies on unpublished phone surveys, questionable assessments by UNRWA, some of whose employees are Hamas operatives and local NGOs. All of this is coupled with sweeping speculation and distortions of fact that not only undermine the credibility of the IPC, but also reflect the same pattern we have seen since October the 7th, when respected institutions and media outlets rushed to amplify falsehoods and fabricated narratives against Israel. That is COGAT, the Israelis' coordination of government activities in the territories, reacting to that report from the IPC, rejecting what it says are claims published by the IPC Index. But the breaking development this hour is that declaration of famine in Gaza City.
Now you saw that, right? This is what I was talking about. They got pots and they got pans and stuff like that. Who is that? That may be even for, you know, their family. Maybe. That may be for their family. Okay. But why isn't it for their enemy? Why isn't it for their enemy's family? What if they're hungry? What if they don't want to be in the famine? Only a few people in society can be selfish. Jesus can be selfish. Jesus can be arrogant. He can be egoistic. I mean, not really, but I am that I am, and no one goes before God unless they go before me. I'm Alpha and Omega. Like this nigga was saying like some real gangster stuff. Like he was saying some stuff like that. Like he was talking about, you know, I'm that nigga. I'm HNIC. Like, you know, Jesus, he's always said, you know, humble and modest and, you know, meek and mild and all that. That's cute. But you try that in the real world, you're not going to get far enough. Especially not in the bedroom. I digress. Let's get back to the coverage.
For the first time, the UN-backed Integrated Food Security Phase classification, which monitors world hunger, making that formal declaration. Reaction there from Tom Fletcher as well of the United Nations. He is the Under-Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs. Let's bring in Adam Parsons, who's following developments for us in Jerusalem. Adam, some very strong words and condemnation there from the UN.
Yeah, very strong words from the United Nations, very strong words from the Israeli government in response. Let's just for a moment go back to the fundamental thing that has happened here, which is that the IPC, which is a multi-agency organization backed by the United Nations, has declared famine in an area of Gaza. It's not saying it for the whole of Gaza. It's what they call the Gaza Governorate, which includes Gaza City and some areas around that, although they are warning of impending catastrophe, potentially by the end of September, across much of the rest of Gaza. So they've declared a level 5 famine. First time that has been declared outside of the continent of Africa. And just to give you some of the snapshots of what that means, in their estimation, that means at least 20% of households face a complete lack of food or other basic needs. It means that they believe there is starvation, death and destitution evident. It says that acute malnutrition is now above 30%, and that mortality rates due to malnutrition are now at least 2 people dying out of every 10,000 every day. Lots of responses to Action Aid, the charity, saying this is a deep stain on our collective humanity. And you heard there the fury from Tom Fletcher. I mean, talking of systematic obstruction by Israel. This was saying this is a matter of shame, and also calling on the Israeli government to, in his words, end the retribution. Israel, in response, has completely denied this, as they inevitably were going to. They do not, well, they say they do not believe that there is a famine in Gaza. They have consistently said that the images of famine are either fraudulent or fake, or in some way are being spun. In other words, that people who seem to be suffering from famine.
I still don't like that. Israel should own up to it. Israel has to have more of a backbone than that. It's just like, yeah, famine, you goddamn right. Famine? Sure. Of course there's a famine. And it's all brought on by Hamas. Yes, there's a famine. Of course there is. What do you want? What do you expect? They wanted this. They called for this. Israel rejects Gaza famine report as false and biased. This says, hey, we completely accept it. We don't reject it. We completely acknowledge it. We don't ignore it. It's not our fault. We were attacked. And they want ceasefire. For what? For what?
Or malnutrition are simply, in their words, vulnerable people who are suffering due to hunger rather than famine. And they put the blame for this entirely on Hamas. This is the argument you will always get from the Israeli government, is that Hamas started this war. Hamas could have ended it, that Hamas are stealing food aid that comes into Gaza. And also they would say, why is the world worrying about hunger that of Gazans and, in their words, of Hamas fighters, rather than worrying about the starvation being suffered by the hostages?
All right, now we're starting to get a little clearer picture. At least that's a good statement from Israel, saying Hamas did this, okay? You understand that? Hamas precipitated all of this. It was all about Hamas. They were the ones that attacked. They were the one that drew first blood. It's their fault that there's a well, I don't even know. There's a difference between hunger and famine. I think hunger is a lesser form of famine. Famine is decreed upon certain. It's founded upon certain criteria. I'm not sure exactly what they were, but I'll finish this guy's talk.
Gareth, there was always going to be a maximalist response from both sides of this. There is no nuance in this. The United Nations, through Tom Fletcher, and I expect this to be repeated by other agencies, by other United Nations figures today, are saying that this is a stain on humanity, that this is a man-made famine that could have been stopped and is a result of aid not being allowed in, and that effectively the Israeli government know what they are doing in engineering a famine. The Israeli government say that that is an outrageous claim, and that they are responding to a terrorist attack on October the 7th that killed 1,200 of their citizens, resulted in 250 being taken hostage, and was a material threat from a group who they, in their estimation, have to remove. And so we are left probably where we expected to be, with two polarized responses, and in the middle of it, the Gaza Strip, where clearly conditions are becoming absolutely intolerable. And one final thing on this, I think the global community, so many countries, are now calling on Israel to intervene and to provide more aid, to open these crossing points, except for the United States. Mike Huckabee, the US ambassador here in Jerusalem, saying that this is a decision for Israel. He said, yes, there is hunger, but he is continuing to put the blame for that at Hamas, and that is echoed by President Trump. And I think as long as the Israelis believe they have the United States behind them, then they will believe that they can carry on.
Excellent, thank you so much. We're just getting reaction from the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, posting online, just when it seems there are no words left to describe the living hell in Gaza, a new one has been added: famine. This is not a mystery, it is a man-made disaster, a moral indictment, and a failure of humanity itself. Famine is not only about food, it is the deliberate collapse of the systems needed for human survival. People are starving, children are dying, and those with the duty to act are failing. As the occupying power, Israel has unequivocal obligations under international law, including the duty of ensuring food and medical supplies of the population. We cannot allow...
I just remember what the food was. The bread, pita bread from the Middle East. And they have other breads too. They have kubs, mezmin, babari, lavash, and other breads. But those breads, you know, shouldn't even see the stomachs. Shouldn't even see the stomach. And what else? After the food, everybody's talking about the food, but you know what? Everybody knows what happens after food. Come on now, let's be real. The sanitation systems, you know, they better be up to top level, because it's gonna be a lot of people with a lot of, you know, waste. You know, it's gonna go down into the systems, and whatever living conditions they have, they may be, you know, sleeping next to running someone else is running down sewage. That's all they talk about. You know, feed the children, and you know, feed the hungry, and you know, get rid of famine and all that good stuff. But everybody's got to do it. Everybody's got to do it. So I wonder what it's like in those various places. Because, I mean, they should just be bombed out of existence. They should just be bombed out of existence. Israel shouldn't even have to contend with the Gazans. They shouldn't even have to contend with them. Shouldn't even be a problem. It's very simple to realize the difference between, you know, I'm glad, like I said, I'm glad Israel has said they're wishy-washy. I mean, they'll go back and forth, and they'll say one thing is good, and then they'll say one thing is bad, and then you know, they'll go back and forth. They're two-faced, very two-faced. Israel is, because of Netanyahu's poor leadership, his poor leadership, I guess you say. It just presents itself to be a wealth of this despicable acts, despicable angry words, you know, and then, you know, the angry words don't match up to the actions. They should really focus on flattening Gaza. Like I said, they should really obliterate Gaza, just to take it completely off the map. Sir, have you seen Ye, formerly Kanye, with his Netanyahu joke? No, I did not. It's funny how you spell that too, by the way. So I still get that. I just, it's just weird to me. I mean, it's the same thing with, at least in the military, it's gonna suck. You sign up and it's gonna suck. From private to 4-star general, it's gonna suck on some level for you. Now there's gonna be different levels of suckage. I just said that to make that up, but suckiness is it's gonna suck at certain levels if you're a private or if you're a general. But every Marine is a rifleman and every Marine is a janitor. That's a joke, but it's real. That's it's true though, in a lot of ways. Even officers start off, cleaning and washing and stuff like that when they're in training. So, and when they graduate, their first, the first roles are usually kind of maybe not as basic, maybe still janitorial, I guess I could say. But it just trips me up. I'm like, you got I always thought that also. I was like, I used to think as a kid when I was like, man, why is the president living in that big White House? I mean, can't he put homeless people in the White House, and can't he, why is he eating all these good dinners and stuff like that? Why is he's going around the world in this big jet, and everything is gravy and everything is cool, everything is wonderful, but people are starving literally in the streets. People are being harassed, and people are being robbed and killed and murdered and all this stuff, and he's sitting back eating shrimp and lobster. Like, it's cool. Like, it's no problems. But then I grew older and I was like, well, that's not really his fault to an extent. I mean, to an extent, it's like he didn't open up the gates of capitalism and where people wouldn't have to be in squalor or anything like that. And but I think it still suffices to say for the UN, the undersecretary, he could give up a few dollars, can he? He cares so much. Could be it was predictable and could have been prevented. Oh, really? Okay. And this is from Antonio Guterres on X. I think it's X. Just when it seems there are no words left to describe the living hell in Gaza, a new one has been added: famine. This is not a mystery. It is a man-made disaster, a moral indictment, a failure of humanity itself. Oh my God. Famine, that wasn't in the text. Famine is not only about food, it is the deliberate collapse of the systems needed for human survival. People are starving, children are dying, and those with the duty to act are failing. As the occupying power, Israel has unequivocal obligations under international law, including the duty of ensuring food and medical supplies of the population. We cannot allow this situation to continue with impunity. No more excuses. The time for action is not tomorrow, it is now. We need an immediate ceasefire, the immediate release of all hostages, and full unfettered humanitarian access. Bullshit. I think that's a technical term. Mr. Guterres, that was cute, but why aren't you giving away your money? Why aren't you giving away your food? Why aren't you, moving out of your house and living in a tent and, telling other people to do the same? And if you could just cut your wrist or something like that, not enough to, for to commit suicide, but just enough for enough blood to bleed out, and then you go to the hospital and get it patched up or something like that. And pay on your dime, of course. We're having a vocal media. Oh, shoot. You want to see vocal media? We can do that. Hold on. We can do that real smooth. They be like smooth. Can you teach me how to Dougie? I don't want a copyright strike. I got you. I got you, Rick James. Hold on. I want you to share this with everybody you know. Make sure you like, subscribe, and you know, become a paid subscriber. That would be even better. Damn it, I meant to say. All right. Yes, your Facebook. I appreciate that. That's my story that I'm really pushing right now. Really excited about it. The show's almost over. No, the show just began, sir. You can come on in. Come on in right now and get this good word. Come right on in. We got 3 people in here.
Allow this situation to continue with impunity. No more excuses. The time for action is not tomorrow, it is now. We need an immediate ceasefire, the immediate release of all hostages, and full unfettered humanitarian access. That was reaction from Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, to around 500,000 people. These are live images from Gaza. It is 12:25 there local time. You can see the crowd of people there around what we would assume to be a water tanker, a water bowser, potentially fuel, but I should imagine water. People there from the top of your screen walking down, carrying buckets, some of them carrying what appear to be maybe just plastic bags as well. You've got a variety of people, children, small young children, as well as adults, parents. The door of that truck open, you can see the banner, the humanitarian banner on the front of it. Some people climbing up onto the roof of this tanker. You can see that this is a scene that we have seen so many times throughout the course of this conflict. It's a scene that Tess Ingram, Middle East and North Africa Communications Manager at UNICEF, has seen many times herself. Joining us from Al-Mawasi in Gaza, about 15 to 20 miles southwest of Gaza City itself. Good to have you with us. Your thoughts, if you will, on the declaration of famine in Gaza City.
This is our worst fears being realised. Like has been said by previous speakers on the program just now, we have been warning about this consistently for about 22 months now. The group of global experts that today have confirmed famine is occurring in Gaza City and could spread to other parts of the Gaza Strip in coming weeks, first warned of the risk of famine in December 2023, and yet here we are in August 2025, and we have to prevent this. And that is a shame on the whole international community, because this could have been prevented. Here in Gaza, I've spent the past 48 hours at nutrition points where UNICEF is trying to help malnourished women and children. And these mothers are in tears because they have exhausted all of their...
Notice, women and children. Women and children. Women and children were killed in Dresden, Berlin, Nagasaki, Hiroshima. Not in that order, but Tokyo, not in that order, but that is the point of war. Kill them, women and children. That is total war. That is scorched earth war. And look at all that. Look at all these selfish people. Put that in quotes. Selfish people trying to get some whatever, liquid water or fuel, whatever the hell they're trying to get from this truck. But they're all thinking about themselves and their families. I wonder how many are thinking about, oh, I gotta make sure my neighbor, he really despises me, he hates me, I hate him too. But I gotta make sure he gets enough, to last throughout these next few months. Like only a few people can be selfish. If you want to be a banker, oh my God, you cannot be selfish. You have to have some kind of, setup where you're giving away millions or billions of dollars. And there's nothing wrong with 501Cs. Or there's multiples. There's like 502C3s or C5s or C6s. I can't. 501C20 all the way up to 23. I just learned that the other day. But that is the truth. That is the reality. That is true. Women and children. She didn't say older men. She didn't even say older men. She didn't say younger men. She just said women and children. And UNICEF. Anybody remember UNICEF from school? The little orange box with the kids on the front. You ask for like 5 cents or something like that. That's part of the John Dewey system, the architect of the educational system that we currently have. Sadly, he's destroyed more minds than many. Why Johnny can't think, stuff like that. So I'll go back to this news clip.
Options. They are watching their children die, and there is nothing that they can do about it. Imagine being that mother. That is the situation that people are in at the moment. And honestly, the scenes at these clinics have the worst conditions among children that I have ever seen.
You say there, mothers in tears watching their children die and being unable to do anything about it. We've just heard from the Israeli Foreign Ministry. It says the IPC's published a tailor-made, fabricated report to fit Hamas's fake campaign. What do you make of that?
These are claims that we've heard before, and I think they're contradictory to the evidence. They're contradictory to the evidence that we have issued today in this IPC report. They're contradictory to what we are seeing here as humanitarian aid workers on the ground and to what the people of Gaza understand. They know the conditions that they are suffering through, and for them, for these mothers, for these children, it is very simple. They do not have enough to eat. They are sick and they are weak. They are fainting from the lack of food. This is clear to us, and it should be clear to the international community. It's been live streamed into people's living rooms for almost 2 years now.
The Defense Minister of Israel, Israel Katz, with reference to the military activity in Gaza City, where this famine has been declared, says soon the gates of hell will open upon the heads of Hamas. The impact, though, will be felt widely amongst the civilian population. And the UNRWA boss, Filippi Lazzarini, yesterday said that many people will not have the strength to undergo a new displacement. Many will not survive. What's your analysis of what impact this increased military activity will have on the young people and on the population of Gaza City?
Well, Gaza City is the location where famine has just been classified in the Gaza Strip. So I think the impact of an escalation of military activity in that area is clear. We're talking about a population of almost 1 million people who are struggling to hang on. People are exhausted, they're starving. Many have been displaced. We spoke to people there yesterday more than a dozen times in the past 2 years, and they're again facing the prospect of having to move. If people are able to move and they want to move, they have nowhere safe to go. And if they cannot move, for example, if they have a malnourished child, a baby in an incubator, a child in an ICU unit, they are out of options. And it's serious risk if this military offensive goes ahead. So we are urging for that to be reconsidered. And if it does happen, to make sure that civilians are protected, whether they leave or whether they stay, and that they have the basics that they need to survive.
The Integrated Food Security Phase classification has also warned that not just in Gaza City is there famine currently, but it could spread to regions including Deir al-Balah and Khan Yunis, which saw widespread fighting in previous months. It warns that famine could be there by the end of September based on current projections. What would it take? How much aid do you need to stop and reverse this situation?
I think that's a real risk. As I said, I've been to these nutrition points in Deir al-Balah the last 48 hours, and the scenes were beyond belief. I met a little girl called Noor who was born healthy at 4 kilograms, and now at 14 months old, she is just 5 kilograms, about half of what she should weigh. Her 2-year-old brother is malnourished, her mother is malnourished, and that is not an uncommon story. This is what we have to address. At the moment, we are getting dozens of trucks into the Gaza Strip every day. We need 500 or 600, and we've proved that that's possible. We can do that if we're enabled. We did it during the ceasefire, and that's the volume of aid that's needed to stop this famine from spreading. The time is now. We need the Israeli authorities to open all of the crossings, to allow aid in at scale, and then to enable us to move that aid quickly and safely to the people.
She says to end the famine. You end the famine by dropping bombs. Everything you see on the screen on the left, all those tents and everything, just drop bombs on them. All of that, all those tent cities and everything like that. Bomb, 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 bomb. All of them. Missile attack, rocket attack, bomb attack, whatever the case. Make the place shattered. That's the best way to get rid of the famine. That's it. That's as simple as that. You don't get any more simpler. You don't get any more simple or simpler. You don't get any more understanding of what war really means. She wants to cry her eyes out. What is she doing? Why is she wearing a UNICEF shirt? Why is she wearing a UNICEF? Take that off. You should be, completely just like everybody else. Nobody else has a UNICEF t-shirt and vest and everything. Why is she wearing that? That separates her from the struggle and the harm that is being done to the Gazans. Why is she with a bleeding heart? Why is she doing that? She's not about to give. Oh no, I'm not giving up my bulletproof vest. Are you kidding me? I should be wearing my helmet now. It's so disturbing. So disturbing. It is a detriment to human life that they speak of, the famine, everything is so terrible. The mother, the child is malnourished, and her brother and the sister and the mother are malnourished. Everybody's malnourished, and they're suffering and everything. Okay, that's cool. But why aren't you saying Hamas is doing all this? I've said this repeatedly. This is not Israel's fault. This is all due to Hamas's actions. A government, not a terrorist organization, a government, an entire government, a structured level of statehood that really isn't a state, kind of. I guess it is a state. I'm not sure. But it's definitely more than a disorganized terrorist organization. A disorganized organization. You know what I mean. That is the reality that we have to live with now. I'm going to finish her up. Go to a few small, short.
People that need it wherever they are, including in Gaza City.
Tess Ingram of UNICEF joining us from Al Mawasi in Gaza. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much. It's 12:31 in Gaza. You're watching Sky News. Still to come through the course of this morning. We'll have more reaction as famine is declared in Gaza City for the first time.
Okay, now I have to go to another video. Let me see.
We are following breaking news out of Gaza this morning, where famine has now been declared in Gaza City for the first time, according to a UN-backed global hunger monitor. Now, in its latest assessment, the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, or IPC, warned that the, quote, catastrophic conditions are expected to spread into other parts of the territory by the end of September. Now, Israel has rejected the report, calling it false and biased. For more on this, I want to bring in CBS News foreign correspondent Ramy Inocencio. Ramy, good morning. So what more can you tell us about this report?
Yeah, Michael, good to see you. First off, this is coming from a hugely respected UN food security monitor, the IPC, as you said. And this monitor put a number, too, to how many people in Gaza are now impacted by famine. That is more than 500,000 people who are facing, quote, starvation, destitution, and death. And for context, that is about a quarter of the Strip's estimated population of about 2 million people. The IPC also says that it's going to get worse, not just in size and the number, but also in scope. It says famine right now is in the Gaza governorate. Now, this is in the north and where Gaza City is. But famine conditions are also projected to spread south in the coming weeks. That's a quote. In the coming weeks to Deir al-Balah, just south, and then further south to Khan Yunis. And by the end of next month, the IPC says it's estimated that more than 640,000 people will face famine. The UN's aid chief, Tom Fletcher, just gave a statement from Geneva. It was impassioned. He was frustrated. Take a listen.
It is a famine that we could have prevented if we had been allowed. It is a famine within a few hundred meters of food. It is a famine openly promoted by some Israeli leaders as a weapon of war.
Yeah, and he also pointed to the world, Michael. He said this is a famine on all of our watch. The Gaza famine is the world's famine. That is also a quote. And it's not just Gaza's famine, Michael. This is also, according to the IPC, the first famine anywhere in the Middle East in modern times.
And this is a pretty stark report. How is Israel responding to this?
Sure. Israel has come out quickly and with a total rejection. It says it is false and biased, this report. And it says, a quote here also, there is no famine in Gaza. This is coming from the foreign ministry, which cited 100,000 aid trucks that have entered Gaza. This is over the past nearly 2 years of its campaign in Gaza. The foreign ministry also said that the IPC's report was a tailor-made, fabricated report to fit Hamas's fake campaign. And then it goes on to say that the IPC twisted its own rules on what the actual definition of famine is. It claimed that the IPC lowered the threshold. There's a threshold of a population that faces famine. They claim that that was 30% and that the IPC has lowered that to 15%. The IPC, though, does deny this accusation. And I just want to remind everyone that Israel does not allow any international media right now into Gaza and for the past many months for any kind of independent verification.
Some important context there. Ramy Inocencio, thanks for joining us.
Of course.
We begin this hour with news that has recently broken that famine has been confirmed in Gaza City for the first time, according to the United Nations-backed body responsible for monitoring food security. The IPC says more than 500,000 people in Gaza are facing starvation, destitution, and death. It says that malnutrition threatens the lives of 132,000 children under 5 in Gaza until June next year. The body adds that the famine in Gaza is entirely man-made and that it can be halted and reversed. The IPC confirmed famine in the Gaza governorate on the territory which includes Gaza City. It says that catastrophic conditions are projected to expand to Deir al-Balah and Khan Yunis by the end of September. But it has been unable to fully assess the situation in 2 other areas of the Strip. Israel has rejected the findings of the report, saying it's false and biased. The United Nations Emergency Relief Coordinator, Tom Fletcher, has reacted to the report. Speaking in Geneva, he said the famine must spur the world to more urgent action. Here's what he said.
Good morning, everyone. Please read the IPC report, cover to cover. Read it in sorrow and in anger. Not as words and numbers, but as names and lives. Be in no doubt that this is irrefutable testimony. It is a famine. The Gaza famine.
All right, he's talking what he's been saying the past few clips. I'm trying to see if I can get something new going. Let's see.
For the first time, the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, better known as the IPC, has confirmed that famine is in Gaza City. First, who is the IPC? It's a UN-backed international body responsible for monitoring world hunger. The declaration will outrage the Israeli government, which has consistently denied that famine is taking place in Gaza. Now, what officially is famine? Well, for more, let's speak to our international affairs editor, Kedevin Gorgestani. Hello to you, Kedevin. As we're saying, this is the first time the IPC has made this declaration. So it's not something they take lightly. They had to look very carefully at the situation on the ground. So how did they make this decision?
Yes, exactly. They previously warned many times that famine was imminent in Gaza, especially in Gaza City, but they had stopped short until now from making that formal declaration because there was, according to them, a lack of hard data that they could really focus on to make that formal declaration. Because when they do make that famine declaration, they follow three very strict criteria. The first one is that at least 20% of households have to face extreme lack of food. The second criteria, at least 30% of the children must suffer acute malnutrition. And finally, 2 out of every 10,000 people have to die each day of outright starvation. Those three criteria taken together allow them to make that formal.
She said criteria. All you have to say is criteria. It's already plural. Criterion is the singular. I just wanted to point that out. She's smart though. I mess up too, so I'm not saying I'm holier than thou. I'm just saying she said criteria. That's kind of cute. This is it. At least 20% of households face extreme lack of food. At least 30% of children suffer acute malnutrition. 2 out of every 10,000 people die each day out of outright starvation. You know what can end all that? A bomb. A bomb just sweeps through Gaza. Just sweep through the entire place. A few bombs, whatever it takes. And just completely obliterates it. Wipes it off the map. Start over. Have American and European organizations come through, just like Dr. Jerome Brooks said. It's not that hard, folks. It's not that hard. It's pretty simple. Just bomb the place. Bomb them. Bomb away. Salute rock and power to Senator John McCain, presidential nominee. But that's what it is. You just have to bomb them. Missile attacks, rocket attacks, whatever you got to do. Take out all the men and women and children. Everybody. Take them all out. It's all you have to do. It doesn't take much. Just drop a few bombs and continue. And blame it all on Hamas. That's all you got to do. Blame it all on Hamas. That is the way to go. So I would say, 20%, 30%, 2 out of every 10,000. Kill 10,000 people. Kill 10,000 people. Kill all of them. Not 2 a day out of every 10,000. No, everybody. Everybody getting wiped out. Kill them all and let God sort them out. Now, of course, I don't believe in God, but it's the statement. It's just a phrase. Let reality sort them out. Let reason sort them out. Let that be the final arbiter. I'll continue.
Famine declaration to give you an idea of how rare it is. Since the creation of this IPC in 2004, this is only the 5th time they have formally declared famine anywhere in the world. The first 4 were all in sub-Saharan Africa. It is the first time that they're making that declaration in the Middle East, and they're warning that this is probably going to expand outside of the Gaza governorate, which is basically Gaza City, 3 surrounding towns, and several refugee camps. They're saying now that based on the current projection, by the end of September, a famine could have reached areas like Deir al-Balah and Han Yunis. So they are saying that this is not going to stop at Gaza City, if you will, and is likely going to broaden out in the rest of Gaza. This, of course, made worse by the imminence of that military offensive in Gaza City by the Israeli army, which is forcing a lot of people to flee that area. But the situation when it comes to nutrition has not changed and is only getting worse.
All right, Kidevin, thank you very much. Kidevin Gordestani.
Looking for a new video. Looking for a new video. Let's just do this. This is gonna be for fun. Because this is gonna be so debased, so disgusting. I don't want to say it's fun, but I want to say it's just this is a horrible news agency. What are they gonna say?
Now, the UN Deputy Chief for Humanitarian Affairs, Tom Fletcher, says the famine could have been prevented had Israel allowed aid into Gaza.
Please read the IPC report, cover to cover. Read it in sorrow and in anger. Not as words and numbers, but as names and lives. Be in no doubt that this is irrefutable testimony. It is a famine, the Gaza famine.
It's the subtleties that are blatant and obvious. Israeli-made Gaza famine. Israeli-made Gaza famine. That is their line. They're not even saying famine in Gaza. Multiple, reports saying there's the first time in history for this part of the Middle East to get a famine. No, Israeli-made Gaza famine. I said this at the outset. I said they're going to have something so detrimental and backwards and evil and vicious and inept and just horrible, to say Israeli-made Gaza famine. No, Hamas-made Gaza famine. That's the truth. It's hard for me to trust him, sir. Okay, it's hard for me to trust him too. I don't. He should be, taking off his tie and his shirt and his jacket and written out his bank account, giving away his house or houses or his cars, his liquidate all his assets from his portfolios.
It is a famine that we could have prevented if we had been allowed. Yet food stacks up at borders because of systematic obstruction by Israel. It is a famine within a few hundred meters of food in a fertile land. It is a famine that hits the most vulnerable first, each with a name, each with a story, that strips people of dignity before it strips them of life. that forces a parent to choose which child to feed, that forces people to risk their lives to seek food. It is a famine that we repeatedly warned of, but that the international media has not been allowed in to cover, to bear witness. It is a famine in 2025, a 21st century famine, watched over by drones and the most advanced military technology in history. It is a famine openly promoted by some Israeli leaders as a weapon of war. It is a famine on all of our watch. Everyone owns this. The Gaza famine is the world's famine. It is a famine that asks, but what did you do? A famine that will and must haunt us all. It is a predictable and a preventable famine. A famine caused by cruelty, justified by revenge, enabled by indifference, and sustained by complicity. It is a famine that must spur the world to more urgent action, that must shame the world to do better. It is a famine that therefore also asks, and what now will you do? My ask, my plea, my demand to Prime Minister Netanyahu and anyone who can reach him: enough. Ceasefire. Open the crossings, north and south, all of them.
He says, stop the fighting, stop a ceasefire. Nobody says that to Hamas. Nobody said on October 7th, 2023, you can't bomb them. You can't take 1,200 lives. You can't take 250 hostages. You just can't do it. You shouldn't do it. No, we're gonna stop you. But they did it, and Israel responded with measurable attacks. For the most part, pretty good. Not as quite as much as I would like. I would like complete devastation and destruction. We should have the ability to take away the enemy's capacity to make war. That's one thing. But the ability also to crush the soul of battle. That's why I go back to General Tecumseh Sherman, William Tecumseh Sherman. He crushed the South's soul of battle, made them not want to fight anymore. They had their weapons still. They had, a cache of weapons in stock, and they had some kind of munitions, and they had uniforms and stuff like that, which he pretty much destroyed as well. He destroyed the depots for the uniforms and the munitions, and he tore up railroads and tied his men tied them around trees, called them Sherman ties. Like, that's the attitude that we have to have. We have to possess that sense of complete and utter destruction. This is war. He said that many times before Civil War even started. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. And he cried. He bawled. Huge bulbous tears, came from his eyes, because he could foresee the destruction and the despair and the just horrors of war. That's what we have to ascribe to right now. That's what we have to advocate for on this level. The Sherman-esque way of conducting war, not ceasefires, not going at the agreement table, and no, flatten, bombs, shoot, kill, war. Rick James says my grade school granddaughter can write a better speech than this. apparently, but you know, it's just extraordinary that we don't follow history. It should rhyme. In some circumstances, that's a good thing. It should rhyme. It's not going to repeat itself, but it's going to rhyme, and for good reason. We should be rhyming. General Sherman, General Patton, all these different generals, General MacArthur. We should be, you know, extolling their, you know, the benefits that they created. We should be praising their ability to wage war and to win. Sherman won. The North won. And I'm going to paraphrase this because I can't say the exact. I might look for it. Hold on. I'll look it up. Right. Hold on. I'm looking at it right now. Here's the quote by William Tecumseh Sherman. You people of the South don't know what you are doing. This country will be drenched in blood, and God only knows how it will end. It is all folly, madness, and a crime against civilization. You people speak so lightly of war. You don't know what you're talking about. War is a terrible thing. You mistake, too, the people of the North. They are a peaceable people, but an earnest people, and they will fight, too. They are not going to let this country be destroyed without a mighty effort to save it. Besides, where are your men and appliances of war to contend against them? The North can make a steam engine, locomotive, or railway car. Hardly a yard of cloth or pair of shoes can you make. You are rushing into war with one of the most powerful, ingeniously mechanical, and determined people on earth, right at your doors. You are bound to fail. Only in your spirit and determination are you prepared for war. In all else, you are totally unprepared. With a bad cause to start with, at first you will make headway, but as your limited resources begin to fail, shut out from the markets of Europe as you will be, your cause will begin to wane. If your people will but stop and think, they must see in the end that you will surely fail. William Tecumseh Sherman. It's just that he's not like a warmonger. I would say, as far as he hated war, he didn't want war. He didn't like war. He got into a lot of wars with the Indians and so forth, and of course, being a major general in the Civil War. But he knew that this was going to be a bloody, disgusting, horrific, ugly thing known as war, and that the South was rushing into it, and he had to say, no, wait, hold on, pump the brakes. We can't do this. We cannot. You cannot launch into this war. You don't know what you're doing. Hardly a ball of yard of wait a minute. What did he say? A yard of. Hardly a yard of cloth or a pair of shoes can you produce or make. I mean, these are animals. These are savages. Hamas. Israel is one of the most technically advanced societies in all human history. It is one of the most moral, probably more important, chiefly, most moral countries on the face of the earth. It is within our grasp that we should be able to celebrate the idea that Israel is a sovereign nation and can protect itself. All it needs is the right leadership. It doesn't need Netanyahu, who's wishy-washy, back-faced, two-faced, doesn't make sense half the time. Israel is too good and too pure to be, castigated or swept to the side. Thank you, Saunders. I appreciate it. Thank you. Saunders is such a coward that they don't know how to explain themselves. That's my little Saunders. Explain how. Well, explain how you are saying that I have sloppy journalism. Explain that. Instead of saying, I should share this show, I should donate to his Venmo. No, I'm gonna be a little hoe and not to show that. Okay. Very well. Taking news clip sloppy. Okay. Let it be sloppy then. Why aren't you doing it? Why do you have a channel that you can do it? I didn't think so. Exactly. You don't have a channel yourself, so you wouldn't do it.
Let us get food and other supplies in, unimpeded, and at the massive scale required. End the retribution. It is too late for far too many, but not for everyone in Gaza. Enough.
Okay.
For humanity's sake, let us in.
See, Saunders is what you call a coward, a liar, and a nigger. They're a coward because they don't show their real face. They have a clip of my own face. They're a liar because they don't know the difference between truth or not. And they're a nigger because they're, well, a nigger. That's it.
Don't miss out. Get a full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news.
Famine has now been declared in Gaza City for the first time. That's according to a UN-backed Global Hunger Monitor. In its latest assessment, the Integrated Food Security Phase classification warned that the, quote, catastrophic conditions are expected to spread into other parts of the territory by the end of September. Israel has rejected the report, calling it false and biased. More on this, I want to bring in CBS News contributing.
Saunders, you're a nigger. You're still a nigger. I don't care. Yellow, brown, white, red, black. You're still a nigger. You need to send me at least $5 or $10 to answer those questions. $5 or $10 to answer questions. If you don't have a wrench, if you have a wrench, then you can have it. But you got to give me at least $100 or $500 for a wrench, or at least 20 or 30 people you got to invite, Saunders. But you're still a nigger. I'm Asian, Saunders says. I'm Asian. Like, that's a big difference. Still a nigger. Coming on to my show and my chat, disrespecting me and being corny, but I allow it. I allow it because I need the hate. I need this hate. Yeah, trolls in the room today. Yeah, for doll hairs. I just get more doll hairs. So you're not black, Saunders. You're still a nigger. I don't care. That's you. I'm not black. Well, you're a nigger either way. I'm not black or a nigger. Get out your daddy basement. First of all, I'm not in the basement. And was it to you did I not be in the basement? What difference does that make to you? If I was in the basement, how does that affect your life?
CBS News contributor Robert Berger, who's following developments from Jerusalem. So Robert, break down what exactly the report says.
Yeah, like you said, for the first time, the UN, this IPC
declaring that there is famine in Gaza and focusing on Gaza City. According to the report, 500,000 Palestinians, that's about a quarter of the population in Gaza, is facing famine in the area of Gaza City. And they warn that this could spread by the end of September to about a third of the population. So it's a dire situation. And keep in mind that Gaza City, the area of this famine, is also being targeted by Israel in its latest offensive.
All right, and now break down what the Israelis are saying about the report.
They say it's biased and that it's based on reports and information from Hamas, which, according to Israel, is hardly a reliable source. They point out that 100,000 trucks have entered Gaza since the start of the war, and that there's been a surge in aid over the past couple of months, including airdrops, and that there is no famine in Gaza. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu saying in recent interviews a number of times that there is no starvation and that it's a blood libel like that against Jews in the Middle Ages.
All right, so what are the latest efforts now to get aid into the enclave? We'd reported earlier in the month and last month that the Israelis had prevented aid from coming in. They say now it's flowing. Can you give us a sense of
Salute to you, Wizard. I appreciate it, but I welcome the hate. I welcome hatred. That just motivates me. Makes me want to get more money, more position, more greatness. I live a wonderful life. I live a stress-free life. I have no gray hairs in my eyebrows yet. Nothing on my face. I feel good. I appreciate it though, Wizard. Appreciate it though.
how much aid is actually making it to the people who desperately need it?
Yeah, so there was a blockade, a full blockade on Gaza from March until around the end of May, and that's what really exacerbated this situation. Now, we don't really have exact numbers of how many trucks are going in a day, but it's somewhere around 100 or 200 trucks a day. And there's also these airdrops, which are not really that efficient. They bring in maybe 1 or 2 truckloads of aid per airdrop. And the UN saying they need 500 or 600 trucks a day in order to feed the populations. And also it's a war zone, right? So it's once the aid gets in, it doesn't always make it to the warehouses where it's distributed. A lot of the aid is looted by criminals, by Hamas. And basically it's a big mess, but it is better than it was since Israel lifted that blockade at the end of May.
All right, so this is all coming, of course, as Israel says it's preparing to expand its ground offensive in the enclave. Explain to our audience what they plan on doing and what you're hearing on the timing.
Well, already we're seeing airstrikes and ground forces moving into the outskirts of Gaza City, some neighborhoods, and there have been a lot of Israeli airstrikes. And the population is gradually starting to move out. The goal, according to the military, is to move out 800,000 Palestinians from this area to so-called safer zones, and then to target the remnants of Hamas in these areas, especially the tunnels there underground. This operation is basically in its early stages. Prime Minister Netanyahu ordering the operation to be sped up. But at the same time, he also says Israel is open to negotiations to try and end the war and win the release of the remaining 50 hostages in Gaza.
All right, Robert Berger, thank you very much.
All right, that looks like we're gonna do it for today. Well, you know, I said to sum it all up, bomb them, bomb them, bomb them. Just bomb Gaza to hell. Start all over again. Make a sidewalk, make it pavement, put up a parking lot, just bomb everybody to death. Men, women, and children. This is war. Israel's got to win. They were attacked first. They did not have anything to do with Hamas attacking them. So they must be vindicated in all of this. So I thank you all for watching. I should be here sometime on Saturday. Continue to tell other people about the Wild Show. I just saw Rick James saying Wild Shiwa today. He meant to say Wild Show. But I thank you very much. And like I said, I'll see you some other time. Take care.